Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 575 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our sixth book just came out. It's called I'm So Beautiful, It's Ridiculous: Unleashing and Promoting Strength, Self-Worth, and Real Sisterhood. So go and pick up that book on Amazon or Barnes& Noble today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, now that I'm a little bit older and a little bit wiser, I often think about the other students that were around me in college who were abusing alcohol and drugs on a regular basis. And I think about the help that they could have gotten in college through the counseling center. It is free for college students. You pay for that with your tuition. And looking back at it now, it's clear that they were just using the alcohol or drugs to mask some of the trauma that they had been through as children, and they really hadn't healed at that point. So please think about using the counseling center on campus. It's a free resource. I wish I would have used it more often when I was a college student, and perhaps brought some of my other fellow students with me to the counseling center as an 18-year-old. So let's talk a little bit more about healing on our show today. Sussi Mattsson is a visionary leader with 20 plus years of international experience in entrepreneurship. She is a founder of two companies in Sweden and the United States with deep expertise in executive coaching, speaking, and developing people to lead with clarity, purpose, and bold innovation. She is passionate about transforming ideas into action, empowering high-performing teams, and shaping the future of business and education through responsible, human-centered leadership. Welcome to the show, Sussi.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
Of
having me.
course, of course, the honor is mine. Thank you so much for sharing your story with our college students. And, when I read about your story, I was just kind of in awe. I mean, you have this story of escaping a very traumatic situation at just 8 years old. And it was very, very powerful because your father actually tried to sell you abroad at only 8 years old. And then 6 months after that situation, you lost your mother to cancer. So I'm wondering right away, what gave you the courage to run at only 8 years old? You only had $1 in your pocket. And how do you look back on all of this now?
Well, I would like to start to say that that courage to run away from home,
Mm,
it didn't come from having a plan because I didn't have a plan. It was the very strong driving force of believing that there has to be a better life. I didn't know where or how. I just needed to get away to save myself from boarding that plane straight to hell. And so I had this belief that I was worth saving. So I needed to run, and nobody was there to save me but me myself. So I think that looking back now, from an adult perspective, I can truly understand that the brave little girl literally saved my life. And she didn't just had a dream, she actually followed through with actions, and I think that's the big difference. So from that starting point, I can see now that survival became my purpose, and that is what I'm living now.
Holy cow, what a story. That is just unbelievable. You wrote the book. It's called From Me to You, and it's based on some very personal experiences for you. I'm wondering, what was that turning point that made you decide to share your story with the entire world?
Well, I came to a point where I had success with my companies and outside, but within myself, I felt hollow, like something was missing. I didn't feel any fulfillment. So I thought that it should be a good idea to go back and revisit my old trauma. So I did, and I came to a point where I couldn't identify with that little brave girl. So I decided I need to write her a letter at least say thank you. Thank you for saving my life and thank you for taking action. And also, in a way, trying to forgive my father. So that was the starting point. And when that happened, something transformative happened inside myself. And it got me curious. So I started to study how writing is healing and what exactly elements do we need in order to write a healing letter to ourselves.
Hmm.
So having coaching clients in 21 countries, I decided, well, I need to test out this method to all my clients. And they got like this amazing results. So through my network and clients and people all over, it started to spread uh, how to write a wisdom letter. I called it wisdom letter.
Hmm.
So people started sending in those letters of stories of their own trauma. And and I was kind of thinking, okay, so my voice actually unlocked their voice. So that was the seed that planted this whole movement of people wanting to join in because they wanted to share the stories, they wanted to be heard, but they also wanted to leave a legacy of the wisdom. How did they do to overcome, and how did they do to rise and thrive again?
It kind of just brings up a question for me. I hope that, it's not too personal, but, when people hear about you forgiving your father, right? That's a really, really difficult thing to do. You
Yeah,
understand that, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, how do you get to the point of forgiving somebody who has wronged you so much? How do you get to that point? I don't even understand it.
Well, it's really hard to forgive somebody who doesn't believe he needs to be forgiven. So let's start with that. Because if you have somebody who acknowledge doing wrong or say they're sorry or change behavior, then it's obviously easier to forgive. But to forgive somebody who didn't believe he did something wrong, it's harder. So I came to a point and I realized in my research and all my study that forgiveness is all about me, not the other person. To set me free from my pain has nothing to do with saying it was okay or didn't acknowledge what happened or whatever. So it was 100% my liberation, my freedom of the suffering, of the resentment to him, towards him, and learning what those things actually do to your body and to your soul and to your heart. It's not good for your health to hold on to resentment. So um, yeah, it was not a quick fix, but it can be done and is really, really important. And that actually one of the most important step in the wisdom letter writing method, how to forgive yourself and others.
Yeah, well, you bring up some great points. That resentment is very heavy, and that can cause all kinds of health problems for you. So, in essence, by forgiving him, you were liberating yourself,
Exactly.
right? So, that's really, really an important concept for people to understand. And I'm sure the other college students who are listening right now, many of them are carrying these invisible wounds from their childhood or maybe as a teenager. And you kind of started to talk about it, in terms of like health. But are there other reasons why it's so important for young people to start their healing journeys early?
Yes, because our unresolved traumas affects our decision making, our belief system. And those two are actually the lens of how we see the world and how we act in the world, and also all the roles we have as a daughter, as a son, as a sister, as a brother, all these different kind of roles that the students have. So but very often it's subconsciously that we are creating those excuse me for saying, but soul-sucking survival patterns. We are creating those subconsciously, and we are not aware of them until something happens that triggers, and we don't know why we overreact to something instead of just react something normal. So why it is important is that if you have unresolved trauma, it follows you into your relationships,
Mm.
into when you are choosing a partner. It could easily end up in physical abuse relationships, or even worse, of course. It could also end up with self-doubt, lower self-confidence. You're not pursuing your dreams. You're not pursuing your potential. Um, so there is a lot of things going on, and I think there's two really good things to be aware of, and that is, what is the cost of me hanging on to this unresolved trauma? What does it cost me? My body, my soul, my mind, my heart, my health, my relationships, and everything. And am I willing to sacrifice all that because of holding on? So you sooner the better. And why waiting? Why wait to be happy? And I mean, if I had a chance and somebody would offer me when I was young, I would absolutely take it. It took me 34 years
Wow.
before I addressed my past trauma. Um,
Yeah, that's a
so,
long time. And you bring up some great points. I'm sure that impacted relationships in your life
yeah,
during those 34 years. Uh,
absolutely.
yeah, man, oh man, you bring up some really, really good points for people to think about. And now you've helped over 10,000 people with your four-step method. And I'm assuming that first step is forgiveness, but can you give our listeners a sneak peek into those four steps and what they help people to achieve?
Yeah. So after studying for 8 years how writing is healing, uh, and also what specific elements do we need in order to heal? And then that led me to, oh, we need it in a specific order as well. So this solid, proven four-step method is based on the four elements of the human experience: the body, the soul, the mind, and the heart. So we are starting with acknowledging the wound, because that is the first step. You need to speak your truth. I mean, brutally, honestly. What happened? That is the first step. And then the second step is actually identifying and acknowledging your life lessons, because the life lessons will lead to better decisions in the future, will also make you reevaluate your core values and your belief system. So step two is your life lessons. And then step three is your wisdom, because when you have identified your life lessons, you have the ability to share and pay forward your wisdom. What did I learn that somebody else could benefit from? And then we're ending up with those three beautiful frequencies of forgiveness, gratitude, and love, and closing up with a high on the love. So it's a transformative healing method, and people who have written it has taken actions that they never knew they were capable of. Because after you have written the wisdom letter, then what? You need to know what to do with the new insights, with the new perspective, with the new me, the healing version of me. What do I want now? Because it opens doors. So I'm so honored by all those wisdom writers around the world who have sent in letters and sharing their story and speaking their truth. So I really recommend everybody to do that.
Yeah. Now I'm really curious about your wisdom letter and what that looks like. I'm assuming you still have the wisdom letter. And
Yes,
so why is that such a transformative act for you to write that letter?
because it's reframing your story, and many people believe they are okay because if we don't talk about it and if we close the door, it doesn't exist and we are okay. So they are creating kind of a new normal and living in that space like I did for 34 years and was successful in business, but in my inside and my personal life, it was really something missing, something a really big piece missing. So the first step to acknowledge the wound that actually exists, because I have that is so huge and transformative, because I have had wisdom letter writers who had had the secrets for like many years, keeping them from their wives or from their children. And so I think that secrets also make you sick in your soul. So the first step of acknowledging your wound and speaking your truth and actually just write it out, it all your feelings and your pain and your suffering suddenly belongs to the letter. It doesn't belong to you anymore.
Hmm.
And when you can take the next step then later and identify the life lessons, you can see that, oh, this has shaped me in a way and something good has come out of it.
Mhm. It's so interesting.
Uh,
I think about my own childhood, and especially I think as a male, I remember my parents basically just saying that I shouldn't cry, I shouldn't show
yeah,
emotion, I shouldn't be
yeah,
vulnerable. This is what I was taught as a kid. So of course, as
yeah,
an adult, of course I
yeah,
have the problems showing emotion, right? I mean, because
exactly.
I've been taught as a
Yeah,
child to suppress them.
exactly, exactly.
I'm wondering how organizations in college, like fraternities, with this tough exterior that we're supposed to have, according to
Mhm,
society,
mhm.
and even sororities to a certain extent as well, how can these organizations become safe spaces for healing and emotional support and vulnerability when we're supposed to have this tough exterior?
Well, I do believe that, and I am an example of that. It only takes one. If one speaks up and say, "Hey, this is what happened to me," and if the people around you is not judging you or providing advice, because we are experts on providing advice. As soon as somebody has a problem and a challenge, we give advice like freely. No, we just need to hold space and just listen and say, okay, I hear you, I'm here for you, I will stay with you through this. I don't know what you're exactly going through, but I'm here. That's all. Because then people can feel that this is a safe space and nobody's judging me and nobody's leaving me because I am exposing this secret that I had, or I have been sexually abused, or I have been raped, or whatever my trauma was. Uh, so I think for the people around, is really important to don't leave the person who is sharing the story,
Hmm.
because they need to know that you are staying even though I'm sharing this with you. And I think that the least helpful thing they can say is, I don't know, it could be like comparing to your own story or
Hmm.
somebody else's story. Comparing is a no-no. And and saying, um, sometimes people say, oh, it could be worse, I heard this lady having this experience. that's also no. So I think that just share your presence, not your advice. Listen without fixing, and I don't leave. Just stay and be a good friend, and show up for the other person, because they need somebody to lean on when they're having courage enough to speak up. So I don't know what you have in your college, but I think that just open space of sharing stories.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think it does take that one person to share stories, and then the other people start to feel comfortable
Yeah.
in sharing the stories. But they also want to be believed, right? That's another really important thing is that when you're sharing your truth, you want other people to believe you. I think the thing that you're most
Mhm.
scared of is that by sharing with other people, they're not going to believe what you're saying. And so I think that
Mhm.
is, something that could be really important is just to believe the other person when they share with
Yeah.
you, because they might
Yeah.
only be sharing with one person, you. And so
Yeah.
if you don't believe them, then that's it,
Yeah.
right? Then it's
Yeah.
over. And so you don't really know who else they're going to share it with. But I also like the fact that, you were talking about listening without fixing. I thought that
Mhm.
that is also really, really important. And it also, that was a concept that I didn't really understand until I was an adult. Because, younger Mike, I would always try to fix everything. I always thought that that was my job, is to fix things. That's
Yeah.
what we do. We fix
Yeah.
cars. We
Yeah.
we fi we fix the house. Like something is broken, we have to fix it.
Yeah.
So we think in our minds that in relationships with other people that that is our job too. It's just
Yeah.
it's very seamless.
Yeah.
And I remember one time, I was talking to my wife about something, and she was sharing some problem that was going on at work. And immediately I went into fix it mode, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, stop. She's like, I don't want you to fix anything. I just
No.
want you to hear me. And I was like,
Exactly.
oh my God. Like that was like the light
Yeah.
comes on and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, I really had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes we can ask that question, because that's what I'm talking to parents. Ask the question to your kids. Do you want advice, or you just want me to listen or support you?
Hmm.
And then the child, the kid can, or teenager can decide, well, right now I just need a hug or somebody to listen to what I have to say. And in another situation, maybe they say, well, I would appreciate your advice. So sometimes it's better to just say it out. Just ask the question, do you need advice, or do you need me to listen? Do you need a hug? Do you, whatever, do you need a cup of coffee to share, or whatever it is? So I do believe that when we are in that fixing mode,
Hmm.
it comes from a place of love and compassion, because we care and
Hmm.
we want to help. But sometimes the timing is not right to do that. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
better to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, I love asking. I think that's great. Do you want me to just listen or do you want me to fix something? And they'll
Yeah.
tell you, right? What
Yeah,
they're looking for, but
exactly.
sometimes we just
Yeah.
don't know, which version of me do you want, right?
Yeah.
So that's really helpful. And I appreciate all of that. These are all great because these are things I didn't learn until I was an adult. And so if we can teach that to college students at a young age, I think they'll be better off in their relationships and come to a better understanding, I think, with their partners and their friends and other things.
Yeah. And
So,
sometimes also young people, some some young people, they don't have parents they can talk to.
hmm.
So the only one they can talk to is like a close friend or couple of friends. And are those friends the best advisors? Not always, because they don't have that experience, they don't have the knowledge, and
Hmm.
etc. So sometimes it's really good among friends as well to just ask, well, I'm not able to give you any advice, but I'm here for you. And that is enough. So Yeah, it's really interesting, this
It is.
psychology perspective of
It
things.
is. And you're absolutely right. A lot of the college student listening, many of them look to each other for advice, another college
Yeah,
student, but you have the limited experiences in life
yeah,
at 18 years
yeah,
old. So try to
yeah.
find a mentor, try to find somebody who has gone through it, and they will have some really good advice for you. So I think finding those mentors can also be very, very helpful, especially if, maybe you don't have a father or a mother figure in your life. So that
Mhm.
person can help to fill that void. And I think that that's really important as well. And you set this very ambitious goal of helping 1 million people transform their pain into purpose. That's
Yes,
a big number. So I'm wondering,
yes.
what does success look like for you at the end of this journey? What does that look like?
Well, since my own transformation happened, success is not numbers for me.
Mhm, mhm,
It's not money, and it's not numbers. But to be able to um, have this tremendous driving force of helping people, other people heal and create more happy people, because happy people make different choices, and happy people also make better decisions. So if we wrap all that, I do believe that 1 million is enough for the ripple effects. Because if I can have 1 million wisdom letter writers, then they are affecting their family and friends as well. So maybe we're ending up with 5 millions. I don't know. So I think that I have seen firsthand when a parent healed what it did to their kids,
mhm.
because the kid felt safe and experienced a more loving environment. And that is success. I have seen a guy who didn't talk to his mom for 15 years because she was in jail. And after writing his wisdom letter, he called me and he said, "You know what, Susie? I booked a flight. I'm going to see her." That's success.
Mhm.
Um, if someone choosing life instead of suicide, that's success. So I kind of measure success in all those beautiful stories that's coming in of people who have been able to overcome and to thrive and do things they never believed they would do. That's success for me. Um, so I'm thinking 1 million, 1 million wisdom letters is also 1 million truths.
Mhm. Yeah, you're right about that.
And 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 if we can have 1 million truths and 1 million wisdom letters sending in their letters to the book collection, then we will have a collective healing human archive of a survival guide for many people, and that is success for me.
Yeah.
We can achieve that.
That's really cool. And I think you're right. If you got
Yeah,
1 million wisdom letters, then in reality, you really have helped, in essence, 5 million people because they have families, they have children,
yeah,
they have a
yeah,
spouse.
yeah.
And so, basically that trauma essentially ends with them and it doesn't pass into the next generation, right? So I think about
Yeah.
that even with my own kids because I know that I've had certain traumas, as a child. And, it was something that I talked about with my wife that, that's going to end with us. Like
Mhm.
it doesn't go
Exactly.
any further beyond this. And now we have two
Yeah,
healthy kids, and that is our biggest success, really, is two kids
exactly.
that didn't have to experience any of that, right?
No, no. And that is the best part for adults going through this, because we can see that it's really breaking the generational trauma.
Right.
And that is so important because it's totally subconsciously. People are not aware of that is affecting their parents, how they are as a parent. And I can see for myself with my daughter
Mm.
being super poor and having no money when I was a kid. Well, Julia, my daughter, she had like hundred of dolls, totally unnecessary, but compensating because I didn't have toys.
Right.
So we can see the patterns in our adult lives, and if we pause enough, long enough to notice, then we can recognize the patterns, and
Mm.
then we can do something about them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's excellent. Well, that's a really good way to end this interview. I think that's a fantastic way for us to finish. If the students want to connect with you for speaking opportunities, if they want to go and get your book, it's called From Me to You. I know you have an app that's going to be coming out very soon. Where should they go in order to get all of these things?
They will go to from me to you movement.com.
Very good. All right. From me to you
Everything,
movement.com.
yeah, everything is there.
That's perfect. And once the app comes out, we're also going to have a discount code for you. I'll put that in the
Yeah.
show notes once the app comes out. But just go to the website and you'll be able to access all of those things. And if you want Susie to come and speak on your college campus, that's certainly something that she can do. She can bring books with her and the whole thing. So please go to the website and go and check out all of the things. I'm sure there's going to be an announcement on the website about the app when that is ready as well. Well, Susie, listen, I know it's a very brave thing for you to come onto the show and just be so vulnerable and to share all of these things with our listeners. So I just want to say thank you for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation with Sussi Mattsson, I want you to like this video and I want you to share it with other college students that also need to hear her words. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Bye for now.